Hello and welcome back to another reaction. In this occasion, My Hero Academia Season 4, Episode 25. Yes, if I'm not mistaken, if I take what we saw in the third season, this is the last episode of this season, of the fourth season. And yes, obviously we had our hype moment before, in the middle, kind of in the middle of the season, once Deku defeated Overhaul because of the stakes, because everything that is surrounding that fight. That's why it's more spectacular. It's not to say that the fight against Gentle wasn't pretty freaking amazing, but obviously it was a little bit different. It was Eri was already safe, at least she was not going to be attacked or anything like that. But obviously the consequences of said actions of Gentle will be terrible in the future. Once you start to analyze and once you start to think about said consequences, yes, they were going to be just awful too. But now we got our school's festival, and that is over, and all that arc with Eri, I think it's been concluded, at least for now. She's happy, and I would love to see her again. Please let not this be the only time we see Eri, because my god, she's an adorable, adorable little girl. But now we got kind of arc for Endeavor is what I'm seeing in this case. Endeavor is being kind of the villain for the heroes, the terrible person, and he is a terrible person, yes. So I'm starting to see kind of a redemption arc for him. Obviously, we start to see that before in little hints here and there, not only in this season but in the previous ones. It's kind of there, always in the background. But now we're focusing on said redemption. So I'm interested to see how the show is going to handle, because you already know my opinion about Endeavor. I think it's a complete piece of garbage. So, I don't know how the show is going to manage said redemption, if that's what we're seeing in this last episode, or if that is what we're going to see in the first episode of the fifth season. Well, yeah, kind of in the second episode. The first episode is always kind of the recapitulation of the last ones, of kind of re-representation of all the characters that we saw. So, I'm eager to see what is going on with this last arc of this fourth season. Before going any further, let me thank my two patrons that so far are within my Patreon, Omega Sirius and Elise Speech. They already have been thanked in the previews before even my presentation, but I cannot thank you enough, guys. Thank you for believing in me. And of course, if you want to check the Patreon, the link is in the description below, alongside with my Twitter account. So if you want to follow me there, obviously there is no obligation to neither. Anyway, yes, enough about all of this presentation. I'm starting to say way too much. Let me just remind you that if you are not subscribed to the channel, please consider a subscription and turn on notifications. Leave a comment so I know what you think about my reactions, about the video in general, and all of that jazz. And yes, that's it. Let's cut all of this long presentation and watch the episode, shall we? Okay, I'm back. I just watched a second time the 25th episode of the series of the fourth season. And yes, we got several things here. But obviously the main one is kind of the redemption of Endeavor. But let me clarify this. I still think Endeavor is a piece of garbage. That doesn't change that much. I think he has kind of atoned for some of his sins. Yes, I do. He is struggling, he is still fighting, he is still doing his best, I guess. That doesn't mean I will consider him a great father. No, as I said before, I still think he's a piece of shit. That said, I love how this episode tried to soften the punch. Obviously, we know from the first few minutes of the episode that what he did with all of his siblings, at least with three of them, well, three of his sons and daughters. First, obviously, we got Fuyumi. Yeah, I'm still writing the names down. I'm terrible at that. Obviously, she was ignored alongside with Natsu, the other brother, which is, I think, the first time we see him in the anime, if I'm not mistaken, and that he has a speaking role, because I think we have seen him kind of in the background and something like that. And obviously we know, well, moving on, obviously we know what he did to Shoto, and thanks to the help of Midoriya, that he could overcome said emotional obstacle that he has. Now he's doing a lot better. I'm not saying he's a perfect human being, but yeah, he's awkward, but he's trying. And obviously we know the trauma that he caused to his wife, the mother of Shoto Todoroki, and Natsu and Fujumi. I still don't know her name, at least I don't think it was mentioned here. Obviously Endeavor still has a lot of things he needs to pay for. But what we saw in the episode with that spectacular fight is kind of going for that redemption, going for that moment. He's not completely redeemed. I still think he has a lot, and I mean a shit ton of road to walk. But he's making an effort, and I can understand that. I can understand that he's trying to change. Now that he is not the helpful motherfucker in the second place, he's now the number one. He's at the top, and now he's going to start to concentrate this hatred towards him, because he was the one who hated the most, and his hatred blocked every single thing that was outside of said hatred. He only hated All Might because he was so powerful, and there was nothing he can do to even achieve what All Might had already. And I don't know how All Might started as the number one hero, or for how long he stayed in that position, but obviously this creates something within Endeavor. I understand that part, but that doesn't justify what he did to his family. But in this episode we saw his struggles. We saw now that he is trying to redeem himself. He wants to protect people, because even when he was in danger, he was still thinking about the people below him. And I mean literally in the street below him, because he was fighting on the sky, which is pretty fucking spectacular, honestly. But I understand him trying to protect everybody and trying to defeat this Nomu, which is probably the most powerful Nomu. I think even more powerful than the one that All Might defeated in Season 1, because he can speak. And not only that, he is intelligent, or it is intelligent, because he has a plan in which when somebody interrupts this fight that he's having, he's sending other Nomus. Yeah, less powerful than him or it, but Nomus nonetheless. And he's trying to concentrate his power to fight this powerful being, in this case Endeavor. In the end, obviously, we know after all the struggles, after even the terrible cut, that now that I see the episode is on the same side that Shoto has his scar, yeah, he's starting to see just all the struggles that All Might has. Yes, this overwhelming power and overwhelming charisma that All Might had, now he needs to be something similar, or at least in power similar, in speed similar, to defeat the enemies that All Might is capable of defeating. Because, let's be honest, I don't know if Endeavor is at the top of his game right now, or is kind of in the decline, but All Might, in his prime, in his ultra power, he could have defeated this Numo, I don't think with much trouble. Because we saw something similar. Because even in the lowest of his power, he defeated All for One. And in his peak of his power, he defeated All for One. So, we have a true reference here. Because yes, and not only him in the peak of his power, but All for One was on the peak of his power. So yes, we know that for a fact. So, is it still Endeavor the symbol that they needed? No. Is he close? No. Again, the reference that we saw in that flashback, that we have seen in the fight of Camino, is pretty clear. And I love how they use this reference. Of course, you can see All Might in the distance. If you are very far behind him, you can say, oh, it's All Might. And when you try to catch up with him, the closer you get, you start to see that there is a gap between him, between All Might, and the rest of the heroes. The heroes are just so behind him because All Might was just so powerful, so charismatic, so everything. He was bigger than life, as I said in my previous video. But the only one who could see that was Endeavor because he was the closest one. So even like that, he never surrendered. He tried to achieve the impossible. And that is what Hawk saw. He saw Endeavor trying to catch up with All Might. The rest of the heroes said, oh no, I'm not going to even come close to All Might. I'm going to do my own stuff. But I am not All Might. I will not be able to catch up with him. But Endeavor did not see like that. He tried and tried and tried. And that is something I can respect of him. I can respect the fact that Endeavor wants to achieve the impossible. What I cannot respect is what he did to achieve, or the consequences of his anger when he did not achieve his goal. I like this episode because this gives me a different perspective of Endeavor. And yes, as I said during my reaction, I hate him a little bit less. That doesn't mean I am saying, oh yes, Endeavor, the number new one hero. No. I still think the eternal number one hero is going to be All Might. And then, when Deku achieved the goal of controlling the one for all, that is when I'm going to say, oh yes, the number one hero Deku. That's when I'm going to say it. It's an interesting episode because yes, it achieves something that I'm really interested in. I don't think this is the end of the redemption arc. I don't think so. I think this is the beginning of the redemption arc for Endeavor. Because yes, what achieved was spectacular, was entertaining, was pretty fucking amazing. But I don't think it's enough. It's a good beginning. Yes, I can accept that. But it's not, it shouldn't be just our change to say, oh yes, the new number one hero Endeavor is my favorite one. No, I don't think so. He still has not earned that praise. There are several things that caught my attention other than this redemption arc. Obviously, how Endeavor behaves with nobody is watching. That he is delivering flowers to his wife in the hospital without her being there. And he remembers from a conversation they had a long time ago that those were her favorite flowers. I think that is an interesting kind of character development or character adding to the character of Endeavor. Obviously, I understand his wife completely. I understand the mother of Shoto Todoroki, that she is still afraid. Obviously, that is obvious. There is still a lot and a ton of things that need to be done for her to be over the fact that all the terrible things that he did to her. But it's a good beginning. I can say that. It's a good beginning. I can say that. And obviously, I love how this ultra fan of Endeavor is being set up in the last episode, and now he's supporting his hero again. That, oh yes, don't say that we don't have a symbol. Look at that man. He's fighting for us. He's risking his life for us. And I can admire that because obviously that little kid doesn't have the context that we have. The public in general of these series, and I mean in the world of My Hero Academia, doesn't know everything that we know. Obviously, they could admire Endeavor even if he's a piece of garbage. But yes, I like how they make this world a little bit better and how they trying to improve Endeavor. Again, I think this is just the beginning, and I think the title says that. I think it says he's a star, if I'm not mistaken. But I love the title, and I love whenever an episode it does that, when they give you the title at the end of the episode. Yeah, he's a star. I was looking for the title. Yeah, he's a star. So yeah, I think this is not just the start of a number one hero, but the start of his redemption arc. That's what I'm hoping, because if that is it, he hasn't earned anything for me. So yes, hopefully, so far the series hasn't letting me down in those regards. So yes, I'm waiting. I'm eagerly waiting for his redemption arc. Now, the thing I watched the most, I watched like 5 or 6 times, is this little vision that Deku had when he was sleeping. It looked like a normal sleep. I thought it was going to be a little bit silly or something like that. But then we got a vision in which not all his body is clearly visible. It has kind of only his eyes, not his mouth, and his arm are the only places that are visible. And not only that, he's looking at others who carry the one for all. And in a moment there, I saw Nana, I saw a guy with goggles, a short one, could be white hair with a scar. I don't know if the yellow one is another, or if that is Toshinori. And I saw a purple blur and a red blur. I guess for what we saw next, the red blur is actually the original one, the brother of All for One. I guess. And we saw the initial confrontation between these two. We kind of saw his face without the mask that he's wearing now. And yes, his smile is very sinister, very, very sinister. We cannot see clearly, obviously, his face, but we see a little bit more of that. And we saw a little bit clearer the face of the original carrier of the One for All. So yeah, there is a lot of details in there. And we hear him speak in the end. I almost forgot. We hear him speak in the end. And that is when the vision was over. But that was not it. Something happened with Midoriya's body that activated the power, and it activated in a spectacular way that even destroyed part of a window. So what is with these visions? Because this is obviously not a dream. This is a vision of something else. What is going to happen with said vision? What is going on with this fucking cliffhanger ending? And I cannot wait for the 5th season to start, because my god, this looks so promising, man. So promising. But unfortunately, we will have to wait. And yes, I did a little bit of a research so I could get perhaps an exact date of when the 5th season of My Hero Academia was going to come out. So far, there is not much information. Probably the strongest rumor is that it's going to start until 2021, which is a long time without My Hero Academia. But anyway, yes. It's something that was expected thanks to what is going on with the world. Because yes, it has been announced that the 5th season was in production, but obviously we have a pandemic, which is obviously something more important than anime. Yeah, I cannot believe I said that, but come on, it's true. So yes, thanks to this pandemic, everything is going to be misplaced, and I understand why we'll have to wait for that long of a long time. It's a shame, but I prefer they take their sweet time and they do it well. They do it well. And so far they are doing spectacularly well. So yes, we will have to be patient to see the next season, guys. But anyway, yes, I really think I exhausted the topic of this one. I really did. I love this episode and I hate it at the same time, thanks to that terrible cliffhanger. But yes, I hope you enjoy this reaction / commentary of the final episode of the 4th season, and I cannot wait for the next season, man. That is going to be fucking spectacular. But anyway, let me thank especially my Patreons, my only 2 patrons so far, which is Omega Sirius and Ellie Speech. Again, correct me if I said your name wrong. Thank you so much, guys, for your patronage, and obviously the rest of you. Thank you so much for paying attention to my terrible ramblings, especially this long rambling that I had today. I hope I've been entertaining for you, especially in these terrible times for the terrible pandemic. And let me remind you that if you enjoy the content of the channel, please consider subscriptions and to notifications. Give me a like if you enjoy the video, of course, and leave a comment so I know what you think about the episode, my reaction, and everything in general. If you want to check my Patreon, you can see that I have my full reaction down there for Patreons. And if you want to check my Twitter account, is still there. And obviously the BitChute account, so in case anything happens with this channel. Anyway, yes, I think I'm starting to speak way too much. So the only thing I have to say is once more, thank you for your attention, and well, see you on the next season. Bye, guys.
Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed that video, and if you did, give it a like, so the algorithm from YouTube will help me out. And check my other videos, share them, and also why not subscribe to my channel and join this community. And as always, I want to thank you for your attention, your likes, and even your dislikes, your comments, which is something I always look forward to read. And yeah, once more, thanks, and see you on the next one.